You're listening to the Dave Kusiak Show. We have no Russ Radke today, unfortunately. It was going to be nice. It would be a little bit of a reunion of some guys that know Griffith very well. But we have Dan McNeil. Dan, good morning.
Good morning. Am I on?
I hear you. Do you hear yourself?
Not in my headphones.
Okay, we'll get it.
Only in my head.
Only in your head you hear yourself talking?
I'm just curious. Russ Radke was an interesting booking for today's show, knowing I was coming in.
I don't think it was. I think it was before. Russ Radke was. He's the coach of Knox, and I guess Jimmy's telling me that there's a player that's on the verge of possibly breaking the all-time rushing record in the state of Indiana, and he was going to talk about that, but that didn't happen. It was going to be his.
Who holds that record?
Do not know. I'm not a football guy. You are. I was a basketball guy.
I'm betting Anthony Thompson of Terre South. He was an Indiana Hoosier between 86 and 89, and I was lucky enough to cover Anthony's career 1 year when I was on the Hammond Times staff in 86. Paul Mullaney, Bishop Noel Institute, made me the first Big Ten reporter in Times history, and I covered a handful of IU games that year, including one against Michigan late in the year when Jim Harbaugh's Michigan Wolverines, first interview with Jim Harbaugh, they beat IU 38-10. But Anthony Thompson was a joy to watch.
So those people that know that I'm very close with the Ferry family. Mark Ferry on that team, 1984 Bishop Noel grad, plays for Coach Mallory, goes to 2 or 3 bowl games. 1988 played against Tony Mandrich and Blake Ezor.
I love Blake Ezor.
And Lorenzo White. The winner goes to the Rose Bowl. Obviously, Michigan State handled their business, but probably...
And then got pumped by USC on that.
Probably the best 4 years of IU football, but now you got Signetti who's going to try to change that. But we went to 1987 game. It was the game of the week on ABC. A Chuck Hartlieb-led Iowa Hawkeyes against IU, and we were down there. And so very near and dear to that run. But let's go to Brent. Brent, are you still on the air?
I'm still here, Buck.
Okay, so...
Hey, purveyor of fine meats, you'd never burn your brisket. And if you did, I'm okay with that, because those crispy, barky edges are the best meats in town. And I had a big plate of it on Sunday watching NFL football, which I'm trying to get my head around this year. It's the most indifferent I've been about the NFL in my adult life this season. I didn't watch one Bears preseason game. I didn't follow any local media, sports radio. I mean, you can't help but hear the headlines if you live in America. And I have access to media of any type. You hear the rumors and what the stories are, but I'm unplugged as much as ever before. Thank goodness we can't afford the tailgate here on JOB. I don't know what we'd program it with. I guess we could program it with Almanac Island.
So go ahead, Joe.
I have a fun story. So I was at the Cowboys-Bears game 2 weeks ago, and we went tailgating or whatever. I brought a couple of my buddies. We walked around. We found this place with like 50 liquor bottles on the table, right? So we walk up, and we're wondering if we could get a free shot.
That's a score, brother. We called that a score when we were your age.
So we walked up. We were like, hey, can we get a shot? And he was like, you have to take a shot of this first. And it's this Crown Royal bottle with a picture of this man, like some random dude's scrotum on it. And he goes, so basically this guy has 8 season tickets, 4 for him, 4 for his buddies that he brings, and he doesn't make them pay for the tickets, but he says bring a bottle to the tailgate, and then when there's like this much left in the bottle, they all pour it into that one Crown Royal bottle, so it's just a mix of like all these different types of alcohol, and randoms have to take one shot of it before they get a free shot.
So that's what they call those, Dan, when Long Island iced tea is basically what you're saying.
We used to call it the bar mat shot. Pour all the spilled stuff from the bar mat into a cup and somebody has to drink it.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking to a kid from down south. They'll drink anything. So
it tasted like whiskey Everclear.
He'll drink anything, but he'll lean toward those high-end rye whiskeys and Scotch whiskeys. Don't kid yourself.
Oh, they're snobs. They're whiskey snobs.
He's
a whiskey
snob. There's no question about it. He may wear overalls and love the blues, but let me tell you something about this Brent Brazier. From Del Frisco's to Doc's, this man has taste, and I hope Doc's by the house is going to serve. Brent, I hope your restaurant on Calumet Avenue South Munster, as I like to call it, is going to survive without my presence in the neighborhood. I'm leaving Dyer Ridge, as Patrick has called it. My last week in the house is next week, and I hope you guys can survive, because I won't be in there anymore to keep your staff company and drink all those high-end whiskeys.
Man, we're really going to have to tighten our belts now.
So I'm hearing that the radio is not a good sound from a listener, so I don't know if anyone. I'm just giving you the information.
Shock. Yeah,
I'm giving you the information. You guys can do what you want with it.
This is
so. Let's do what we all do, which is move on, and they will try to fix what's going on.
It's worth addressing, though, because the listeners obviously experience it. When I got in my Ford Edge today and was eager to hear if we'd recaptured the signal after you told me we were down, I thought I was listening to War of the Worlds. I mean, it was, for those of you youngsters out there, that's a longtime radio bit Orson Welles did, and tricked America into thinking
that there was a war. That's one of the things we did here. They went to go replay the tapes of 2008 flood, and we had to stop playing them because people were like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like, "It's not raining out."
Yeah, that's when Jim Deedlow saved WJOB. I
was part of that team, and I was there when Bernie Zeman came in, and I had to break up a fight between Bernie Zeman and Matt Reardon, and I were live on the air when Bernie Zeman, the late fire chief of Highland, Chief Timmer, and Brian Novak came in because they couldn't get the information out. And Jimmy screams they're about ready to throw the blows. And that was some times. We had to tell people how to get around for 4 days.
Yeah,
8094 was underwater. It was not working.
No one could get anywhere. Yeah. We were literally, I could have rowed to docks from my
absolutely.
house. So, the 900 yards or so. And Jim was here, bunkered down. And I was listening. How do I get to Chicago to do the Mac Yurko and Harry show? That Monday following Carlos Zambrano's no-hitter against the Astros, which he pitched in Milwaukee, by the way, as Cubs fans may remember.
Brent, can I ask you a question? I've heard some things. Sir. Set the record straight on the restaurant and the future of the Dyer Docks.
What have you?
Someone asked me if you guys are still open.
Yeah, man, we're doing better than ever. We're back to where we were pre-COVID.
I like to hear that. That's why I'm asking you the question.
We're going to be celebrating our 10th anniversary in April, which I think is a pretty damn big milestone for any restaurant. 87% fail in the first year.
Especially in the region, dude.
Closing in on a decade. We actually have, we're doing Oktoberfest today.
Well, why don't you give yourself a plug of what's going on, and then we'll talk about a couple topics that I want to get into. I love talking to Dan McNeil about some. So when I asked Dan to come on, he's like, "Oh, I really haven't kept an eye on sports." I said, "I don't really want to talk about sports." So I'm the same way as Dan, that other than watching a little bit of college football to keep a little bit of interest, and I will go to shake some babies and kiss some hands during a Bears game, just to strum up some business and see some familiar faces. But to be honest with you, I was watching the game yesterday. We had a club meeting. I could care less about baseball. I just don't. I'm just done.
Oh, I'm excited about baseball.
Well, that's good, and I'm glad for you in the Chicago. Go ahead and tell people what you have going on this weekend.
We've got a big. I'm actually at work, opening the kitchen this morning because we're a little short-handed. But we've got a big tattoo convention at the Wisconsin Center here. But tomorrow, the Cubs are coming to town to play the Brewers game 1.
When is the first game?
Tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
Yes.
They had not announced when I went to bed last night. They had not set the time, so I don't know what time of day it is. But
is it a 5-game series, Dan?
I was told there'd be no sports questions today.
Is there a 5-game series? Because it was a 3-game series.
I
think it's 3.
The wild card is 3. I think it's 7 now. I think it goes.
So that's at least 4. Here's how I look at this, and for Joe, who's not as old as us, he doesn't understand, and Dan does. And I'm not talking about sports. I'm talking about the impact of sports. When Michael Jordan and the Bulls made the playoffs and they started going to games 6, everybody went out every single night. And it was a boom for the local industry. So you own a place that serves booze and food, and the Cubs are going to have at least 4 games, possibly 7. That is
Well,
4 to 7 paychecks that you would not have gotten.
Well, we don't. The people have changed, right? They don't go out and watch games in bars as much as they used to. Everybody has a big TV at their house. What we'll see tomorrow in Dyer, we'll have a lot more carry out. So that's one thing that's one way that the business has shifted post COVID is everybody got used to doing takeout, and so where pre-COVID, takeout might have been 5% of our business. In Dyer, it's close to 20 now, which is fairly significant. You get some people to come in and watch, but it's the takeout. It's the same thing with football. I mean, the first few years we were in Dyer, we had the NFL ticket, and then I realized, there's only about the same 3 guys that are coming in to watch, the Steelers. It's not worth it. We just show it's on TV. You get the local games, but I for us up here, the Cubs and the Cardinals travel better than anybody else to Milwaukee. And so I can only imagine with a playoff game that I'm sure I haven't gone over to the hotel and checked their occupancy, but I'm sure it's sold out. It was close to sold out earlier in the week. Just with this big convention going on, there's about 10,000 people at a tattoo convention across the street.
Every single kid whose name is Biff and Kip will be in Milwaukee with their parents taking them to the Cubs game and spending lots of money, which is good for the economy. Brent, we've been bouncing around. Dan, do you have some questions for this guy?
It's a 5-game series, according to Jet TV sports director Sam Michael.
It's 5?
It's a 5-game series. I thought it was because I have a memory 20 years ago when the White Sox beat Boston in the divisional round. That's the last one I watched.
That's right, because it goes 2-2-1, right? Because we have a Saturday and a Monday game here, which is great. Have a game on a Monday up in Milwaukee, and then they'll do 2 in Wrigley, and if the 5th game is necessary, they come back to Milwaukee.
The turning point of that series in Boston was when El Duque comes in with the bases loaded and no outs and gets out with no runs scored.
Okay, name the 3 Red Sox hitters he got out. Oh, my goodness.
Some big names.
Oh, yeah. He got
Kevin Millar.
Kevin Millar. That's a Red Sox. Tony Graffinino was one of them. I believe the catcher, and it was not Rich. Was it Rich Gedman who was their catcher? Maybe he was another one. I don't know. And I think Johnny Damon.
Johnny Damon.
Yeah, I was in Boston on that Friday night when the Sockos clinched. Lovely Sherry Bradkey and I down near the Sox.
Did you guys hit the town, Boston, after that?
We went to the White Sox post-game party. I don't mean to sound like a snobbish.
Oh, well, look at you.
Yeah, boy, oh boy, I tell you something. I had a man crush on A.J. Przinsky, and I was looking at A.J. standing there tall at 6'3" or 6'4" in his blue jeans and nice.
Dan, it's okay if you come out.
And I thought about, man, it'd be okay if Sherry wanted to slip away with him for a little while, I'd have to give her a hall pass.
He's a large man.
I don't know about penally, but
no, I'm just talking about. I was lucky enough to be invited about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, maybe right before my heart, 6 years ago, to opening day and sit in the box right next to Reinsdorf's box. Mm-hmm. And the one mistake I made, I opened up the door and Jesse White's talking to Reinsdorf. I was going to take a picture, but ask for a picture. I didn't. And then I go down the hallway and open up the door, and who's the gentleman standing in front of the urinal is one A.J. Przinsky.
Did you peek?
I didn't peek, and
I would have peeked.
But if all things are proportionate, we'll leave it at that. And so, getting back, what is it that you want to ask this fine gentleman, Dan? If you had questions to ask of this man.
Ask of Brent?
Of Brent.
I would ask Brent if he would like to, because even though I think December is going to be a great NFL month, particularly in the NFC North, the way early returns are. I hope that the week of December 7th, famous day, in American history, maybe the darkest day in our country's history, 1941, or you could argue September 11th of 01. I don't think there's any candidate that would replace those two. Anyway, and my first divorce was on December 7th. The dissolution decree came on the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, appropriately, because I got blown up in that one. Yeah,
Dan, how do you feel about that?
So where was I going here? There was a point at the beginning of this dissertation. I can't remember what it was.
Well, as Dan figures...
the week of December 7th. It is the 40th anniversary of the Super Bowl Bears, and they play the Packers on Sunday the 7th. And I would propose to Brent that I finally break my cherry on the Milwaukee location and do an appearance or two that week. I'll be coming home from Arizona that week, maybe as early as Thanksgiving, and staying till Bears-Packers, and then going back home to Arizona, soon to be my winter home, and do some stuff. We could get Kenny Stills, who labeled Matt Suey on the sideline in '85. We'll get Suey and Kenny Stills to show up. We'll do a big Packers-Bears.
Is that a 12 or a 3 o'clock, or they're
I don't know.
leaving
Let's not complicate it or ask about the format of the ALDS again. I don't want to get too...
Well, no, I'm just saying that I am one of those people that believe the 12 o'clock start is better. But they change the games around based off how popular their games are. It could be, if the Bears continue to win, that it's going to be a meaningful game.
Yeah.
It's going to be a meaningful game anyway because it's the 40th anniversary. You guys can handle that on a business side. Brent, any last words from you as we let you go? We're going to take a break, and then
Jim's here.
I'm going to talk. Go ahead, Brent.
I had one question for Dan, and I'll hang up and listen. I wanted to hear Dan's perspective on the now it looks like a certainty. It was moved to Arlington, right? I mean, of course, I guess it's far from a certainty because they said they were going to pay for it. Now they've asked for $1 billion.
They've asked for $855 million.
Yeah, this is going to go into 2026, and I will be surprised if the Bears and the city can get this done in the entire upcoming calendar year. It's taken so much. Why? It's just the same as believing in the Bears quarterbacks. Why would I believe after all these years they're going to solve their stadium problem? It's been a problem since the 80s when they didn't know what to do with the field, which they say has a low water table. And when they went to when they finally pulled out that awful AstroTurf after the 87 season, Peyton's last, unfortunately, the guy takes a pounding on that concrete for 13 years and Neil Anderson gets the nice grass. But they couldn't figure out how to keep the field in shape. And we talked about that for decades on the air in Chicago. Why is Soldier Field unplayable? Why are NFL teams considering not coming out of the locker room in a preseason game? And this happened again when they cut the ribbon on the new facility.
Like they're at the vet.
And it was terrible.
It's like they're at the vet.
Yeah,
talk to Wendell.
Davis.
My wife worked with Wendell Davis.
And he's got a lovely
And Thomas
wife.
Sanders. I've been to his house in Longview. So
that's big.
Yes, and so here's the deal. We're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, I want to talk to Dan. I want to talk a little bit about free speech. We will finish the story. I actually think that the Bears are gone. There's a perfect storm as to when they were looking to move. One, they had land that they could buy in Arlington Heights, which they did. So they actually, instead of having a straw purchase like they did in 1995 with the Gary Bears or whatever they did. Okay, my buddy was the president of Lake County Council at the time and got wined and dined in their luxury box over there and used this as a straw purchaser before they eventually ended up doing the major construction and renovation of Soldier Field. They actually have a place, so they can go. One would argue that since less people want to go to the downtown, they want to go to Arlington Heights. Here's the biggest part of that. You have a mayor right now that they're $1.2 billion cut, $750 million cut in schools behind deficit. You think that he can go to the city of Chicago, to the people of Chicago right now, and say they're not going to solve that, but they're going to give a billionaire family, it just came out, the Bears are worth the most, $8 to $9 billion, and they need help? We can't solve our issues, but they need help? Well, we'll get to that. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come. It's Open Line Friday. Because Dan McNeil can talk about anything, I can talk about anything. I do want to get into free speech with Dan. Dan has been burnt by that. So I will sit and tell all those people that sit and talk about free speech, that's just a bunch of hooey.
Hooey!
Because you can have free speech, Dan, but the fact is that you will pay the price for the free speech. No one prevents the price to be paid. That's a little prelude. But let's go to the phone lines and clear these up there. No one, Joe? So Councilman Kalwinski, 219-845-1100. If you want to call in, he wants to talk about an event that's coming up. Very near and dear. It's Polish heritage. Those two types of people in this world. Those who are Polish, those who wish they could be. There's two types of people in the world. Those who are Polish, born on the south side of East Chicago, and those who wish they could be. I happen to be both. Okay? Joe, that's a big thing. You understand that? Look at him. You have to speak slowly to Andrean grads. You know what I'm saying? It takes them just a little bit longer, Dan. Like you're a Highland Trojan, right? You get that pretty good. Those Andrean guys, you gotta just speak a little slower.
My buddy
like
Tim
he's enjoying
Sirkovich.
my muffin.
Oh, go ahead.
You're eating it. Oh, you're eating it.
I'm sorry.
No, I left them out for everybody. So
Oh no, that's yours. Eat it.
Yeah,
It's yours.
That's all
I'm
right.
just saying someone's enjoying the Andrean muffin.
Oh, he said it's an Andrean muffin.
It's an
You can
Andrean
eat
muffin.
that. He's not
You
saying
can
you
eat it,
can't
but
eat
it's
it.
an Andrean
But then
muffin.
take a shot at him, please.
Is Klawinski on the air or no? We can't get him on the air?
He's calling in.
Okay, I thought...
It was a last-minute throw-in. He always has something to talk about, and I always
got
would
you.
love to have the councilman. Please enjoy your muffin. He's saying that it's an...
No, that's all right. I'd rather talk to you and Brent. And
Brent is no longer with us.
Oh.
I want to hear your Sirkovich story.
Tim Sirkovich, who was a co-captain on our 78 unbeaten team, 22 zip winners over Jim Deedlow's Munster Mustangs on October 7th of 78. I wanted to make it 29-0 and add one more, but Coach Shelbourne was friends with Coach Friend. I wouldn't have played the next week.
I heard that interview when you had Coach Shelburne in,
Shelby.
and he told you straight up that you knew what the ramifications were going to be. I got a feeling you were going to try to do it anyway.
Yeah, I was too loyal to Coach. I was a disciple of my high school football coach. I really was. I wasn't going to buck anything he said.
Tonight is the Battle of the Bridge, my friend.
Oh, is it tonight?
It's tonight.
I got the Man Cubs tonight, Patrick and Andrew. That's an interesting proposition, and I would love to come in next Friday with Brent to help fill in for you, but I'm boobs up for Arizona next Friday morning. We close on the house Thursday, and I'll have a U-Haul hitched up to my
You driving?
SUV. Yeah, I'm going to be living there, so I need to tow some goodies out there.
So Danny Mac leaving the region. Before we get into
Temporarily.
we are waiting for Councilman Mark Kalwinski. Now's the time. Call in 219-845-1100. Good morning. You're live in the air.
Good morning. Are you there?
I am, and you are too. Let's get right to it, Councilman. First of all, thank you for calling in. We've got some information that we need to get out to the listening audience.
Thank you. Always enjoy listening to McNeil. He's one of my favorite announcers. He does it better than anybody, so I hate to interrupt, so I'll be quick. Want to let you know that this weekend we're celebrating the Polish American Heritage Month, which is all of October, and we're doing that. This is our 30th annual anniversary celebration, so Hammond and Cal City both have Pulaski parks in them, and Jerry Tarka, the treasurer in Cal City, has been doing this for 30 years, and we got on board when we redid our monument here at the park and have been doing this since I've been in office. So here's the rundown for the weekend because it's really exciting. Saturday, tomorrow, October 4th, there's a 1 p.m. wreath-laying ceremony at Pulaski Park. Old people in the neighborhood know it as Douglas Park, at 3728 Sheffield. We'll be having a free concert after the wreath laying, featuring the music of the Easy Tones at the shelter in the park. It's free. Just bring your lawn chairs. That'll go from 2 till about 5, and of course, Cavalier Inn will have wonderful Polish food for purchase at the park if you're hungry and or thirsty.
Can you bring a little bit of Yeji on the side there, Councilman, without telling anybody? Is that approved or no?
Well, it's a park, so I don't know what people might be bringing, I will have some cold pops. We'll call them Pepsis.
I know Wally Kasperzicki will have some cold pops at Cavalier. Fried chicken and sausage. You guys pass the bowls around.
That's correct.
Wally is he's a proud Polak, and
Yes,
he's
he
a
is.
proud Bishop Knoll Warrior and Northwestern Wildcat, too.
Yes, he is. He's played at Dyke Stadium before. And turned his back on Notre Dame in making that decision in the 70s to go play, which turned a lot of people's head in Northwest Indiana. Wally, still very proud Wildcat as we speak.
He definitely is. And my family goes way back with Wally's because Wally's dad sponsored my family over from Europe. And we're always going to be indebted to him as over 400 other families in the neighborhood were sponsored by him as well. So there's a real connection between the neighborhood and the Cavalier Inn and the Kasprickis because of what they've done for a lot of people and sponsoring them the right way. Finding housing for my family, my dad, finding a job for my dad, and then cutting them loose, and my dad paid him back by being a good soldier and going to the Cav for food and beverage.
That
and
was the part of the discussion,
did.
Councilman, that's part of the discussion that when I asked Brent earlier, and we'll get into this later in the program, that's something that people forget to bring up about immigration and legal immigration. Exactly what you said, is that you were sponsored, you came over here, you were on your best behavior, it was an honor to be a part of this, you had a job, you had a place to stay. St. Casimir's was the center of that area, just like St. Stanislaus, which just closed up 2 Sundays ago. For 125 years on the south side of East Chicago was the place that you went, and if you did act up, it was an embarrassment to your family because the ability to come to the greatest country in the world, you would not have thrown that opportunity away. But that we'll get into that later. Let's continue the good things that will be coming on to celebrate our heritage this weekend.
So Saturday we'll have the young Polish dance group out of Maryville, and they'll be singing the national anthem, the American national anthem and the Polish national anthem, and recite a little bit of poetry and welcome the Polish consulate to the wreath-laying ceremony as well. So it's a big deal. We have some high rollers there, and when I had difficulty getting electricity at the park here, Jerry stepped up and the city, Calumet City, and provided generators so that we can have music that can be heard, and so that the speeches, which will be short, can be heard as well. So that's Saturday. Let me go into Sunday because now we shift to Calumet City and their Pulaski Park. And first of all, it starts with a 10 a.m. Roman Catholic Mass at St. Andrew's, the Apostle Church in Cal City. Then we have a wreath-laying ceremony at Pulaski Park in Calumet City, which is right across the street from City Hall there. 12 o'clock, there's a luncheon and program at the VFW at 8140, it's VFW 8141 at 664 Hirsch Avenue, and it's an all-you-can-eat Polish buffet catered by the Cavalier Inn, and if anybody needs tickets, they can call the council office, 853-6404, and leave a message, and I'll get back to them. And we're also having a young adult Polish dance group that will do some Polish dancing in uniform or in dress right after the dinner. And then we're going to have music by Jenny O, which has been our group for that Sunday for the last 30 years. Jenny O and the Next Steps. Donation for the buffet, and that celebration is $30 in advance. No carry-outs available. It's dine-in only. No tickets sold at the door because that just becomes a mess. And, Dave, if you can get free, I'll get your ticket for you.
I think I'm going to try to make Saturday because we're leaving Tuesday, and I got a lot of things to do. But Saturday at Douglas Park or Pulaski Park on Indiana. What time does that start? Because I'm going to see if I could take my grandson. We love to show him some of our culture, some of his culture and our culture, and share together with 2 or 3 generations.
The wreath-laying ceremony at the corner where the monument is at 1 o'clock, and that should be done before 2, and the free concert in the park will start right after we're done.
I think we're gonna aim for that and take some chairs. Councilman, I want to tell you that last Monday we were in your district. Your district, you live in my district. So my wife said we want to take my grandson to the beach. I worked until about 2:00. We jumped in the car, drove to right by the boat in Hammond, and then went to the Hammond Marina. And there was 2 or 3. I paid $10. I thought that was a nominal fee to pay for out of city, although one would argue that I pay more taxes than most Hammond residents by owning 2 businesses and paying $18,000 a year in taxes. But I'll leave that alone. I paid my $10 with a smile on my face.
Well, you almost left it
I
alone.
almost left it alone. And then we went and took our stuff and sat there and enjoyed. It was almost 90 degrees, high of 89. I met 2 or 3 people. In fact, I met someone from here, from Purdue. It was very, very nice, and I think you're going to have a nice weekend. There are no lifeguards on watch, but with it being high of 85, 86 and sunny these next 2 days, I think you're going to see some people at the beach. And I want to say that we enjoyed ourselves, and that is in your district, my friend.
Absolutely. I enjoy it there, too. You know, they have a little dog beach there, too, so you can bring your dog as well.
We lost our little Maya, but we may bring Boomy. We've named him after Boomer Sooners, my friend. And so that's my daughter's dog. And so the other thing is, I didn't know this, and I was talking to Jeff Smith when I was at the Polka Fest during Festival of Lakes. I did not realize that Mylan had retired and Jeff Smith is now in charge of the marina. Or what is that? Can you make an announcement?
Not exactly. Not exactly. Mylan is now over the sanitary district.
Oh, okay. Okay, so they moved him.
Yeah. So Mylan is doing a great job over there, and Jeff's doing a stellar job at the port, or the marina, with the Port Authority Board. And, Mylan continues. He's still a big contributor to the city of Hammond, and Jeff is too, not as a fireman, but now as the director of the Hammond Marina.
Councilman, I appreciate you calling in. Look to see you tomorrow and enjoy some of our heritage together. And here's the other thing for people like Dan and others. We love to share our heritage, so please come on out. Bring a chair. You're going to listen to some nice music. There's always good food with Cavalier Inn, and there's always good people. And it's going to be a little bit warm, so make sure that you bring yourself something to drink that's nice and with ice cubes in it, that kind of thing. And we'll all enjoy a nice day. I'll guarantee you one thing. If you're part of our group, we have zero desire to stab anyone or shoot anybody. I will say one thing, though. If you try to take the last kielbasa or the last gołąbki or the last pierogi, you may get your hand stabbed with a fork. That'd be the only stabbing that would take place at that point. So thank you very much for keeping us in tune, as always, as to what's going on in the city of Hammond and in your district.
Thank you, Dave. Sorry to interrupt, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All righty. Dan, did you just get that compliment? He said you're the best. You heard that.
The best at what? I don't know.
Tell people who you are. This is called the transition.
My name is Dan. I'm 64 years old. I'm a Virgo. My hobbies are water surfing and going to bullfights on acid. I'm a Highland guy who wanted to do radio and write since I was 8 years old, and I was trained well at Highland High School by my journalism advisor, Barbara Mayer. Got some great guidance at Ball State University, public education, $17K a year. Thank you very much. And the Hammond Times, Chet Kopic, WLUP at the Loop, and helped build the Score in 92. Worked there 3 different times, a total of 14 plus years. Worked at ESPN 1000, 01 through 09. Founded the Mac Yurko and Harry Show, also known as the Afternoon Saloon.
We're number 1 for how many of those 9 years?
We took off after 2 years. The first 2 years were pretty dreadful. There was some ratings success, but we didn't really get to the top until late 04, early 05. And then we had a 4 or 5 year run where we just kicked the crap out of everybody, including.
I ran in one time at Sheffield's when you guys did a remote.
That was during the Sox series against the Astros.
I was working as I do and listening, and you guys were saying you were there. I literally ran in, and I don't know. I'm sure it was packed, but I remember saying hello. And so you have the background of understanding what it's like to be the number one guy in Chicagoland area when radio was really, really successful.
Yeah.
How I want to ask you a question about free speech because you've been burnt several times. And so I hear people say all the time that it's the topic du jour because of Jimmy Kimmel or whatever. Whether you can speak freely. So you did many times. You were paid by someone, correct? I mean, when you were on, you were working for somebody when you were speaking?
Yeah, yes, I was always representing a radio station.
So what's your rub when you feel when people say that you have the right to say whatever you want?
I did have the right to say whatever I wanted. I had the right to tweet what I tweeted about NBC anchor Maria Taylor, then with ESPN, during a Monday Night Football broadcast. I had the right to tweet that. And the radio outfit I worked for at the time, it was Entercom. And now what do they call it? Odyssey now? I don't know, trading at 60 cents a share or something. They had the right to dismiss me for upsetting the apple cart during cancel culture. I was not denied my right to free speech.
But you were also given the consequence of what you said.
And you know what? I should have recognized that before I put my PBR and weed muscles on the keys.
So you know what was interesting about this, and I said this before, it wasn't that night, but I think Maria Taylor was doing college or whatever it was earlier. I am not making this up. It was right before that. My wife's not really, she could care less if I have sports on or not. But she's not dumb to sports. I mean, her and Kelly, she literally said to me,
I bet I know the word
she said, "What is this woman dressed for?"
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So Maria Taylor, who's now national, I think NBC of the night or whatever it is, game of the week or Sunday night or whatever the hell it is. My wife literally said, that lady looks like she's dressed to go to a nightclub.
Yeah, she was dressed atypically of a Monday Night Football reporter. And in my effort to get the quick laugh, I tweeted something that was considered offensive
to a woman, a young woman.
Well, it was considered misogynistic, which it wasn't. It was edgy. What I tweeted exactly was, is this a Monday Night Football sideline reporter or the AVN award show master of ceremonies? AVN stands for Adult Video News, and if you've ever seen the Adult Video News annual awards ceremony, which I have, you would know that the hosts dress in nice, revealing clothes, and that's what Maria was wearing. You've never
almost
seen...
like a Tony or a...
She was showing a lot of skin. It wasn't offensive to me, but what your wife thought, what a lot of women I went to college with who were broadcasters, and in the case of Valerie Johnson Toronto, a wannabe sports broadcaster, who was told by one of our professors, I learned years later, that women have no place on a sideline, and I wish I would have known that in 84 and 85 when Dr. Weibel was one of my advisors, too. I would have had speaks with him in Mongolese, because that's not what you tell a student in 1984 or in 1924.
Or 2024.
Well, certainly not at this point, you would think. But, no, it was atypical, but perception is everything. It shouldn't be, but it is.
But at the time, you're 59-ish.
I was exactly
You were 59, and you're a white guy during cancel culture, and you made a statement about a young African-American woman. You were done because of that.
Well, Yes, because everybody perceived me to be saying she looks like a porn star. And what I wrote exactly was host or MC of the award show. I never said anything about her lacking integrity. I never said anything about her performing in those pictures. Never. But perception wins. Perception wins in politics and now in business. And I was stupid for tweeting that on the heels of Harvey Weinstein and everything else that was going on. You had a country that was blowing up out of its mind because of COVID-19. Remember when we called it COVID-19? The coronavirus is sweeping America and none of us knew what to do. So we all got mad about things that were out of our control, and people waited in the weeds for somebody to screw up so they could look for their pound of flesh. I am not a victim of cancel culture. I'm a victim of my own stupidity for not using a social media condom during a time when I knew it was necessary.
So the point of my question, the point of your answer is that in 219-845-1100, if you'd like to talk to Dan McNeil, this will get turned into a podcast. I've been told every time I have a guest, and this will be called the Legends Podcast because you are a legendary sports radio personality, and you were there during the heyday of it, and you have a perspective that is second to none because of what you've gone through. And so 219-845-1100, and it is always par for the course when you're talking about free speech. And I listen from time to time here and others in other stations. You have the ability to say whatever you want. If you work for someone and or society, they have the ability to smack you around after you said it. So, and I say this as an owner of a company, and I've said this to my guys. If you're going to someone's house, you have the right to have your thought process about Trump or anything else in the world. That doesn't mean my customer needs to hear that.
Right.
You're there to do a kitchen or do a roof.
Yeah.
They're not asking for your opinion about that.
Right.
Now, when you're on your own time, you can do that. Mm-hmm. And that's the rub. And then the thing becomes here. Same thing with me. You don't think I've lost business? Because and I'll leave you before we go to break. I said something negative when they're doing this thing between Hammond and Cal City. This goes back 20 years ago when Hammond built that little wall. And I said that the first thing I'm going to do with the wall is take my truck and drive over it. I was being facetious. Before I was off the air, a lover of the city of Hammond calls my wife, and my wife was personally, ran her own business, said, you can kiss your orders with me away because of your husband's viewpoint of this wall, because she was a big Team Hammond person. So she said, I don't even know what you're talking about, number one, because much like, I don't know if your wife listened, my wife used to think me being on the radio was time away from her, so she didn't have to listen to me. So why would she listen to me? Because I'm there totally all the time. And so she didn't even know what I said. She calls me and says, what the hell did you do? You cost me a client. I said, well, I was just being me. And so that's free speech. Now, I had the right to say that. And the lady that was doing business with my wife had the right to say, I'm not doing business with you because you feel this way about something that I like. That's called adulthood. Correct? You don't have to like it, but it's the world we're in.
Yes, it is the world we're in.
I mean, people that don't like what Target's done with DEI are boycotting Target. People that don't like ESPN or they didn't like ABC are either listening to or boycotting. That's your right.
Yeah. You know what I'm tired of as much as anything? I'm tired of people announcing what they're done with. I'm really exhausted from all the people who have thoughts on every company that exists, whether they will, or every entity, a governmental entity, education. Everybody has their expert opinion that is non-negotiable, and I'm tired of all of it. This black and white world we live in, I don't care what people are done with anymore. I don't like to talk about what I'm done with. There is a there's a fast food company that did an anti-gay campaign a few years ago, and they offered discounted sandwiches to people who oppose gay marriage. And people lined up at this restaurant around the country. It was maybe 15 years ago. You probably remember it, and I don't want to give the restaurant any publicity.
Is it the chicken joint?
It might be.
It's closed on Sundays?
I have no idea. I've never been in one of these. I've been in one once, and it was before I got this news that they support anti-gay movement. And I don't agree with that, and I don't live in that world, and I have never walked in that restaurant since, and I'm told the food is very good. I don't care how good it is. I can make chicken at home. Oops.
So what's his name? So Michael Jordan famously said...
It's not the Spinning Bucket, and it's not Popeyes, because they have
It was Chick-fil-A. So here's the deal. Michael Jordan famously said, I want to say it might have been 89, and he famously said, Republicans buy shoes too. And he took a lot of heat from the African-American community because a long line of very successful African-American athletes felt that they had to be involved in this movement of civil rights movement and others. And Michael Jordan just said, I don't have to be involved with that. That's not my responsibility. Mm-hmm. I can live my life and be a businessman. And I think he's okay with that. You can like both. Or not like both. And we're going to take a break here, but this drives me nuts about the hypocrisy of it all. You can't say that ABC has the right to not put Kimmel on if you're a Republican, and then say the NFL doesn't have the right to put Baby Boop on for their halftime show. Because it's their business.
Who is Baby Boop, by the way?
The guy that's taking, what's his name?
Is he doing the halftime entertainment?
Don't know who he is. Never heard a song. Could care less.
Annual topic. I love
and so
away from. Who cares?
I don't care.
Super Bowl.
I mean, but I'm just saying that if one of my best friends says, it's a great line. One of my best friends, Don Kalabowski, says, Dave, I love when you're on the radio because I can turn you off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the reality of that is, if you don't like it, go get food.
Yes.
If you don't like it, turn another station on that day.
Go
have a smoke. Go do whatever you want to do. It's okay. The world's going to be okay, whoever they put as the halftime show.
Yeah. Yeah, and the halftime show is always terrible anyway because it's so compromised, because you have professional musicians being put in a terrible situation to immediately get on stage. They're under enormous pressure to make it a visual presentation because it's being televised to 125 million people. And by the way, I always go over on the estimated audience for a Super Bowl. You should too.
It's brought to you a few dead presidents.
In this NFL that wasn't going to survive because of Colin Kaepernick protesting police violence and all the other reasons the NFL is going to fail, and the officiating sucks, and I'm done with this league. Yeah, the viewership and fantasy football participation go up every year. There was one fallback, I think, about 5 years ago, a market correction of a single-digit percentage, and people celebrated like the NFL is losing its legs. And then it just comes back and steps on America's throat again.
On that note, we're going to take a break. They own a day of the week.
Yes,
and that comes from the movie Concussion. They own a day of the week. We're going to talk. I want to ask you about this, and it doesn't have to be sports related. 219-845-1100. We can talk about others. It's more bigger than sports, but I want your take. I don't know if you've caught it. My daughter's a really, really big fan of the WNBA, and one of the largest stars taking on its commissioner and the overall essence of the sport. I think it's very interesting, more than that it's sports. It's interesting in the business realm as well. So we'll talk about that and other things, or whatever you want to talk about, because it's an Open Line Friday. You're listening to Dave Kusiak Show. He's Dan McNeil. It's called The Legend of Dan McNeil, because everything's going to have it's going to have a name, and I got to give a name to it, because when I have a guest, it's turned into a podcast.
You know what legend is an adjective for?
No.
I'm sorry, a synonym for?
No.
Out of work.
Out of work?
Unemployed.
Don't name a field after me, because I always say this, are you okay?
Yeah,
like Brian
exactly.
Jennings, who we know. They named a field after him in Griffith. I said, are you okay? Because normally when they name a field after you, you're going to die.
I'll go the other way on that. because Ken Seipelt, who was Highland's first football coach, was dying of ALS, and I wrote a column in the Times saying, name the football field after him now while he's alive.
They did that with John Friend. Munster did that with John Friend as
they
well.
should have, so they can be recognized while they can enjoy it.
The late John Friend was able to do that. We'll take a short break, and then we'll go as long as Dan wants to. If not, it'll be 9 o'clock, 1100. We have a legend in the business. Let's go to the phone lines, and then I want to get to this conversation. I don't listen to this station every day. I've been honest. I do listen to Ray Stevens and Nick Gale. The last 2 days, he had on Governor Mike Braun, which was a very good interview. He's running, caught in traffic, caught the last 10 minutes of the program. The day before, it's about 15, 20 minutes. He had Kevin Matthews on. I want to talk about that as well with you before we let you go today. But let's go to the phone lines, 219-845-1100.
Hey, Dave, Vinny, how you doing?
What up, Vinny?
Hey, Mr. McNeil, how are you, sir?
Good, sir. Everything is good in my world. Thank you for asking. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Mr. McNeil, I listen to you on other sports stations and everything. My question, like, with the female side of it, reporters, dressing up, provocative. I enjoy watching the sideline reporters, Pam Oliver and Michelle Tafoya, and they dress appropriate. What changed, Mr. McNeil, from Michelle Tafoya, Pam Oliver? What changed from them until now?
The only answer I can give you is the industry gave people who were on the sidelines more flexibility in their wardrobe choices and did not govern it as conservatively as they had in the past. That's my honest answer. That's what made that change. Nothing more than that.
And Vinny, I think that TV first of all, we have to understand that it's entertainment. And for my friends and I have many friends that are liberal or consider themselves progressives, and they get their hair on fire when certain things happen, and that's their right to do so. But what I do like to point out to them is it's nothing new for good-looking people or people that have very attractive bodies to be highlighted. Okay? All you have to do is look at Hollywood.
It's okay.
It's
physical attractiveness as a weapon. That's okay.
And it also goes into play in the business world. Those individuals that look good, tall, dark, and handsome, that represent their company, that are able to go out there and get clients and get work, it's a plus. Okay, you represent a company. I mean, it goes back to, I remember Karl Rove saying to Fox, he was fighting with the vice president, the girl from Alaska, I forget, Sarah Palin. Sarah Palin looked at him and said, well, if you know so much, why didn't you become the president or vice president? He looked at her and he said, because I'm bald and fat. And so one would say that even Mitch Daniels, who the Republican Party was looking for to try to be the president of the United States, and I would dare say had the resume to do so.
FDR never would have been elected had there been television in his era because he was in a wheelchair.
Because he was in a wheelchair. So to sit and say that doesn't matter, it does. It does. And they do know this. And people like looking at attractive people. That's my little...
Yeah, I think it's okay, and thank you for calling, and you sound like a supporter, and I appreciate that. But again, it's just change, and we don't have to like it, but we have to live by it.
I mean, I like to buy jeans that Beyonce wears, and I like to buy jeans that this other young white girl wears.
You wouldn't fit in.
I wouldn't fit in them, but don't you think Beyonce is one of the most beautiful people in the world?
Yes, she is.
And thank you very much. So let's Vinny, thanks for the call. But just ending on that, I think that she's worth $1 billion because she can sing, dance, and she looks great.
Yeah, looking good is okay, and it's just like when you have. When attractive people who spend time in the gym are doing themselves an enormous service because we all tend to keep our eyes on things we want, and we all have, I think, not all of us, but many of us have similar ideas as to what is attractive, whether it's by conventional standards or not, and television plays by those rules. Look, I did not objectify in that tweet some random person who works at a food store behind the, at Whole Foods. I didn't criticize a woman I criticized the wardrobe choice, edgy as it was, of a woman who was on one of the biggest stages in sports broadcasting, Monday Night Football. That's an enormous stage. That is not objectifying anybody. And I would have said the same thing or tweeted the same thing had Kyle Brandt of Good Morning Football shown up in a sleeveless leather vest that was unbuttoned the following morning. I would have said the same thing about him. Why doesn't he just get a job at Chippendales or the Thunder Down Under?
Because time and place.
You can't say that, what I said. And I understand why I was fired. And I don't harbor.
And you were making pretty good money, weren't you?
Not at that time, no. Not comparatively.
Do you mind saying what the most you ever made a year was?
Yes, I do mind.
Okay.
I made good money. I'd rather not say,
Okay. 219-845-1100. You have Dan. A question for him. We could talk about anything. Do we still have some calls? Let's go to him. Good morning. You're live in the air.
Hey, Dave. Hi, Dan.
Hi there.
How you doing, man?
Good. How much money did you make in your best year?
Yeah, why don't I just give you my debit card, my PIN number, too? That's not going to happen.
All your proprietary
Wait a second. To be fair to myself, did Bob Feeder pass away or is he still living?
No idea. I think he's still alive.
He used to give on his side of what was going on in the media. I bet you that if we perused it, there would be public knowledge of what it was.
Well,
I was
yeah,
just
there
asking
was.
You, okay,
Teddy Greenstein in the Tribune reported
all right.
I was making $600,000.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, he was like.
So it's not like
entertainment contracts can be complicated. Just having a little bit of experience with that there's incentives, there's viewer incentives, there's point incentives, there's a lot of things going on with entertainment contracts. So there's a lot there, and there's a lot that can be taken away from you, as we know. So I just wanted to chime in. And people can look away or not listen to the radio, but there's three things that sell. Sex always sells. Fear always sells. And you just gotta. That's the way it is in media. So. You have fear is an amazing commodity today, and again, sex will always be there. So it's just one of those things. You both experienced it, and what you said or what you tweeted, there's far worse on this radio station than what you said from a misogynistic standpoint. Far worse, but you don't see the pressure from. Contributors and people that put their commercials on WJOB. You just don't see. You might see it behind the scenes, Coos. I don't know. Jed doesn't like talking about things like that. So,
I mean, my viewpoint is that because I've been around people that I know may be misogynistic or this, or even have a taste of racist in them. Okay, but at least I know who they are. I'm more in. My value system is that I value authenticity. I would rather know who you are, and then I can determine how much time I want to spend around you or not. As opposed to, I say this about the far left. Progressives are the flakiest, meanest, nastiest people that there are. And they tell themselves, they justify that I really believe. I'll give you a perfect example. I'm listening to an outtake from Kamala Harris being interviewed by Rachel Maddow. And she literally says, why didn't you pick Pete Buttigieg to be the vice president of the United States of America? She literally said, I couldn't do that because he's gay. That, by definition, is discrimination. By
Absolutely.
the definition of the word, he didn't get selected because of who he
What
was.
was Rachel's reply to
She
that?
gave her a pass.
As a gay woman.
She gave her a pass. As someone, she tried to first say,
Wow.
"Isn't that kind of racist or discriminatory?"
Yes.
And she kind of said, "You have to understand, I'm already a black woman, and we were trying to win." That's different. You deliberately said in your book and in this interview that he was not chosen because he was gay. That, by definition,
Forget about the
is
fact
discrimination.
He was. Forget about the fact that he was an Iraqi and Afghanistan.
He's a
veteran.
very
Forget about all
qualified
that
guy.
stuff.
I would also
Yeah,
state that he would never have been picked to be the transportation secretary had he not been gay.
Right.
Because
So-
the deal that was made with James Clyburn for Biden, if you remember, Biden got his ass kicked in Iowa, got his ass kicked in New Hampshire. He put his tail between his legs as he flew to South Carolina to go see his friend James Clyburn, who for the first time in the history of my lifetime, the Democratic Party got their act together and said, we're going to lose to this guy unless we have a guy who can beat him, and the only guy that can beat him is Biden. So we're going to get Klobuchar out of the race, we're going to get Buttigieg out of the race, we're going to give them some goodies, which they did. Pete Buttigieg will never win the Democratic nomination because the African American community will not vote for a gay white man.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
So
It's just the reality of the world.
I said there's three things that sell in mass media, right? And I gave you two. The very first one is blood. Blood sells, sex still sells, and fear sells. That's unfortunately where we're at. And you talk about Democrats and liberals. There is no middle ground, and I think that's by design. The 60% that do all the work and pay all the taxes and do all the living and dying and take care of everybody. It's the 20% on each far wing. So if you're a liberal, then all Republicans are protect pedophiles, right? And if you're on the far right, all liberals are are knife wielding abortionists. So once you have that extreme on each end, and we're all in the middle class, right? We all do all the work. You own your own business, and Dan, you're out there, still swinging till you hit something. But
I like that. Dave from Highland, which is now Dave from Gary. Wait a second. Out of nowhere, you're burying the lead. You come out and said you're still out there swinging.
Something.
Swinging at something.
X-Rock, give me a damn call already. Let me make Scott Rosenberg's show bigger. Touch them all,
I just want to leave it at that, and it's always a joy. Dave, I love your show on Friday. When you bring someone in that's, I'm going to use the L word, legend, Northwest Indiana, Chicago metro area legend. I'm going to be listening. So, hey, thank you all. And Dave, we got, beautiful Miller Beach section of Gary there. We got our first Friday, so a lot of stuff's always going on.
Enjoy the beach. It's going to be 85 degrees the next 2 days. David lives on the beach, and we went to Hammond Beach earlier this week. I'm going to Destin next week, so I'll probably stay out of the sun a little bit these next 2 days.
This officially counts as Indian summer because we are in the fall.
Can you say that?
Yes, you can. Well, native summer. But here's the thing. One of my favorite. Thank you for calling, Dave.
Yeah, thanks, Dave.
It's a very nice call. I appreciate the joke too. Especially, I love jokes at my expense. I dished it out so many years. I got to take it when it's given to me. But I'm sorry. Where was I going here?
I don't know. But let's go to the next caller because people want to talk to you. That's it. So if you want to chime in, you got Dan McNeil, 219-845-1100. We've bounced around. I specifically called you not to talk about sports.
Yeah, I know.
I think sports is a microcosm of the world. I want to get in. It was important that we talked a little bit about free speech because free speech, I love when people say, well, you're free. You are free to say whatever you want.
And you also are free to receive the consequences with that speech.
And I would dare say that they need to speak more of that when they're teaching kids about that because that's the reality of it. And when and I was a person that protested many things in my earlier life, and you do use the power of the purse. That's what you have. That's an equalizing factor when you're someone that doesn't have the type of power that a Target may have or an ESPN may have. The only way that you can kind of be looked upon is by cobbling people together and saying, I spend $1, but if I get 1 million people and they each spend $1, now I at least have a little bit of say.
Yeah.
And that's the only way a CEO or someone of power is going to deal with you. In this world, I think it's important that we're realistic with people. I think it's one of the things that you tell these people, and Joe, I want to ask you this. You're 22 years old. You're going into the regular world. These colleges try to tell people how idealistic the world is, and it goes back to what my old man said, and he's been gone for 30 years. Follow the money. Follow the money. If money talks and BS walks. So it is a reality of life. You have the right to call me whatever you want, right? I have the right to sock you in the face. That's the world. You have the right to speak whatever you want. The people that are listening have the right to do whatever they want because they heard it. Free speech does not mean that you get to say whatever you want without the ramifications
Joe,
of
you'd
it.
never sock him in the face, would you?
Look, I've got him close one day.
Did you really?
Yes.
Shocker.
We're trying to. I'm trying to teach this young man the way of the world, and I think that I am. He's a good young man. Okay,
young man,
and he is learning. His comes from a good family. He came into this area and played 1 year at Andrean and played with my cousins.
He's a Purdue Northwest guy.
I am.
And he just graduated?
My final semester, I graduated in December.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Nice. We used to call it Woodmar High when this neighborhood was known as Woodmar. I don't know if anyone still calls it
I think
Woodmar.
they do, and I'm a 91 grad of such university. So I'm very happy to be I was a Laker at the time.
Right.
Okay.
Purdue Cal Lakers.
One Larry Little was the basketball coach at the time.
Who can forget Larry Little and all the Lakers? Bob Bradkey running the wing.
I would dare tell you this. The year that Bob came back from Lakeland or Lakeville or whatever he played in Wisconsin, we played, this is no joke, and I was anywhere near the best player on the team. I'm a role player, but I played high school at Knoll. Chris Opperman played center at Highland. Okay, we have him on our team. Bob Bradkey's sitting out a year. We have it on our intramural team. Art Pollard, who played at the University of Oklahoma under what was his name?
Kelvin Sampson?
No, it was the guy back in the 80s. Billy Tubbs comes back and's playing.
Wow, Billy Tubbs. Sam, how about that for a college basketball poll from the 80s?
Another Highland guy that unfortunately has passed away, Jim Baker, was a great shooter. Okay? We literally felt, and Jerry Tomasic, who ended up later going to Clark, transferring to Clark, we literally wanted to take the Lakers on. We wanted to play. They were at NAIH at the time. We wanted to play them, and we felt that we could have ran with them.
The Purdue Cal
The
Lakers,
Purdue Cal.
not the LA
The
Lakers,
Purdue Cal Lakers.
or the Minneapolis.
So, but the point is that it's been a great part of this area. You're now there. My professor is at the end of her career, Professor Mary Beth O'Connor, and it gives people a great opportunity here. So 21984, Sam Michael. Jimmy, you only got him for a little bit longer. He's going to be the athletic director in Highland. I mean, they're going to come grab him at one point.
Don Fisher, if I get my way.
Don Fisher down at IU.
If I could get him to pull up those 4.6322 routes, I know it makes him happy. He's the proudest Highland guy ever. And I totally dig that because I'm moving home eventually, too, next spring.
Highland is a great place to be.
But, man, oh, man, to be the successor to Don Fisher, oh, my God, would that be a sweet gig.
219-845-1100 if you'd like to talk to Dan McNeil. So, Dan, we've talked about free speech. We did that. Let me ask you a question. It's completely going to change the subject.
Okay.
What do you think about, you could talk about either of these things, and they're kind of big, but you got to at least talk about it because it's going on. Does the fact that the United States government is shut down affect you, number one? You could answer that question. We can go into that orb. Or what do you feel as an individual when you see what's going on with ICE every single day? Does it affect you, or do you have an opinion on it? And at 64, does it affects people differently based on where they live and what profession that they're in?
Right.
Is this something, either of those two subjects, do they affect you as you're in a transition in your life? You've been very honest. I actually called you and told you, and I called Jimmy, that when I listened to you come on with Jim maybe a month or two ago, I felt that was the best radio that I ever heard you do. I thought that was one of the best radio that I heard Jimmy do. Jimmy is a born social worker, a
That's
what
not
are they, he is a born social worker.
He's a good listener.
He is a very good listener. He really does care. And he was in mental health. A counselor would probably be a better term. Because I told him that, and he's like, so he's
not
more of a
trained.
you know what I'm saying? He's good at counseling people and listening. And that
barroom psychology.
He is. And you were on, and you were giving your life story, and because people's value system, it was your honesty, okay, and authenticity. And this is what we need to get back to. I don't care if you're a racist. Tell me that, as long as you don't discriminate against me, because that's who you are. I don't want to hang out with you, but I'm just saying, I'd rather know who you are. Don't put this face on. So many people do, these politicians, and then when the camera's off or the microphone's off, there's someone different.
Yeah.
I want to know who you are.
Yeah.
But that's my value system. Others, I mean, you've been in that business. How many of those people, the term charlatan, we have some on these airwaves here, it's basically a phony. How many phonies did you interact with during your years?
Wow.
And is one of them have a daughter that's pretty prominent in the Chicagoland media?
I'm not sure.
I'll bring it up afterwards if you want to go into it.
Well,
were there any phonies that you called out or who you worked with that you felt were?
Yeah, I think there. I think yes, and there are politicians as well. There's certainly a lot of politics that play into being a media personality. To answer your questions about where we are today, am I affected by the government shutdown? Yes. Do I have an opinion on it? Yes. Am I bothered by things that are happening every day? Yes. Those are my answers to your questions.
In your regular life, and you've been through a lot, how many children do you have?
Three sons.
You have a brother that's had some issues, health issues that you're going out to go?
Yeah. My little brother has stage 4 liver cancer and cirrhosis. Ew.
Okay, so you're dealing with the real life, and you have to deal with that. You have to figure out a solution, and you have to be a part of it to the best of your ability, correct?
I don't have a solution. I'm going for support and to be a good big brother, because that's what my calling is right now. As Dave from Highland said, I keep taking a swing and hoping to put the bat on something.
Make contact. Just make some contact.
While I fail to have a batted ball in play, I'll do one-man shows, and I will hold my little brother as long as he wants me to. He's 54 years old. He's unmarried. In many ways, I've been a dad to him since he was 14 or 15. When he was 16, he lived with me. I was 26. I was working for Chet for $18K a year, living in a studio apartment on 174th Place, not far from here. I drive by on my drive over here.
You were close to the Pines over there.
Oh, yeah, very close to the Pines. Yeah, the Pines was walkable. Yeah, that was a great neighborhood. 910 174th. Big 3-flat in a residential neighborhood full of old people, nice and quiet.
I do a lot of work in the area, and I own...
you know what I miss? Rick's Grill.
Rick's Grill?
Oh, Martha and Rick.
Yeah. I used to go to Madvex. It's still there. I used to... back when Mr. and Mrs. Madvac actually ran it, and it's still good now. I try to eat a little healthier, but when I do cheat from time to time, I will find myself going to get a Polish over there or going over to Arnie's. But Rick's Grill. So when you look back at all this, because we're down to our final clip, do we need to take one last break there, Joe?
I gotta be in Maryville in just a little bit.
Do you have 10 minutes left?
I got 10 minutes.
Okay, so what we'll do is take our final break. McNeil, Dan, we prefaced some of the things I wanted to talk about. Any last things that you want to get into, generalities about what we talked about? Before we do that, let me ask you about some of the guys that you're at their level. And a lot of you guys are all getting older at the same time. Also, we're there during the heyday of radio. We're there during the heyday of sports radio. We're there during the heyday of the 85 Bears and all the stuff that came before and after that. I recently listened to an interview with Ray Stevens and Nick Gale and Kevin Matthews, and I was a Kev head for a little bit, as much as I would admit to that. And then he was asked about some people in the business, and he was asked about Steve Dow. I know that you were during that time. What can you say about those two individuals and anyone else during your kind of years during the heyday of local sports radio?
Man, the greatest 2-3 hitters in any lineup in Chicago sports or Chicago radio history. Kevin Matthews in middays on the AM Loop, and I became a listener in 88 when I started working at the Loop in January of 88, producing Chet Kopic's nighttime show. Kevin was on between 10 and 2, and then Steve Dahl and Gary Meyer assumed control of the plane and were, without question, the most provocative, most interesting, most impactful radio tandem in the city's history. The Loop was a part of Chicago pop culture. This was before the Wolves were born in the late 80s, early 90s. It's before there was the Wrigleyville buzz existed, but it wasn't as big as it became. In the 90s when Sammy Sosa got there and they lost 100 games a year but still drew more than 2 million fans 2 years in a row.
Sun and beer.
Yeah, no doubt. Sunshine, beer.
Good-looking women.
Pretty girls. Look at Marla Stoney. Hey. It was a great time to be in radio. We talk about the great teams in sports history. Who do you think of? You mentioned the 85 Bears.
Probably the Bulls. The Bulls run under Jordan.
The Bulls when they went 72-10 and beat Seattle in the finals to win their fourth of 6.
But we're still Bears. We're a Bears.
Nationally, the 27 Yankees, Ruth and Gehrig. I played for the 27 Yankees of radio. The 85 Bears of radio. I was a fourth outfielder. I was a special teams guy, but I got on the field and earned a letter 4 years in a row, 88 through 91, 88,
So
89,
did you hear
90,
that Kevin has MS?
Yeah, I've known about Kevin's illness for many years now, and we're Facebook friends, even though we haven't talked on the telephone, which I'd like to do rather than exchange messages. It's way more personal. I was a huge Kevin fan, both professionally and personally. Training camp of 89. Jim Shorts and I were up late waking up Bears in their dorm on the phone. Jim Shorts and I went out and partied. Kevin was there for a little while.
Yeah, he was there for a little bit.
He had to get a little bit of rest.
Yes, he did. He had to work the next day. Jimmy Shorts didn't.
We started calling, all these Bears in their dorm rooms at 1 o'clock in the morning. Thayer, Butler, Jay Hilgenberg, Dennis McKinnon, Otis Wilson. Hey, Otis, are you resting, Big O? Jim Shorts just crushed it. And Steve Dahl was the biggest influence on my style. Not so much in terms of pacing. I was a much more rapid-fire driver than he was. But in terms of what to make your show, how to use sound, how to engage your audience, I learned more from Steve than anyone. Chet was my champion. He scraped me off the street in January of 88. I learned more from Steve Dahl than anyone.
Chet gave you your start.
Yes. Chet gave me my chance. I was coached by Greg Salk, a great program director who gave me some great advice over the years. Especially early on when I had no business being on the radio. I mean, I sucked. Really, I sucked all 4 years as a host. As a bit player, I was fine. Filling in for Bruce on Brandmeier's show, Bruce Wolf, who I believe you could still hear Fridays.
I think, and he's had a good run as well.
He should have been on the air much longer.
What was his, and everyone has an end, did he piss somebody off?
Oh, yeah. Who didn't he piss off? Yeah, but I think his talents have, his talents have become, I guess, a dated skill. I mean, jersey numbers from Cubs players and Bears players of the 60s and 70s is fine for a handful of us, and I'll play with him anytime he wants to trade Adolfo Phillips' 25 for Jerry Muckensturm's 58. Bruce, if he's listening, will know those references.
So we've got a minute and a half left. I want to talk about Dan McNeil. I want to talk about Dan McNeil.
What final words?
Final words to you. Not that it's going to be the final time you're here.
Right.
But if you had to say you're 64, you've had a great run in this business, you've been in and out of this area your whole life, what say you?
This was one of the worst years of my life. April and May drove me to my knees when I learned of my brother's cancer. That was certainly an enormous blow and will continue to hurt for a long time. Going through a divorce, it was a bad spring, and it took a while for me to recover. You might have noticed a significant weight loss. It wasn't intentional. I was sick a lot this summer, but I plowed through it, and what got me through it as much as anything was music, and that's what I will take with me. Whatever happens, health-wise, bad fortune to my family and friends, bad luck for me, whatever the case may be. In the words of Led Zeppelin, let the music be your master.